My dear students of class 10A and B, today I am going to introduce a new lesson, chapter number 9, topic Independence and Partition of India. Here there are some following points I am going to narrate. Number 1, Cabinet Mission. Number 2, its plan. Number 3, its clauses. Number 4, formation of Constituent Assembly. These are the 4 points. On the following points I am going to explain you the lesson Independence and Partition of India, chapter 9. You know, Clement Attlee, the new British Prime Minister, declared in the House of Commons on February 19, 1946 that a cabinet mission would be sent to India to facilitate the process of transfer of power. And that mission, that cabinet mission, reached India on 1946. The mission was formed with three most eminent members of the cabinet, three members of the cabinet, three cabinet members. The mission consisted of three cabinet members. Number 1, Pethick Lawrence, the Secretary of State. Number 2, Sir Stafford Cripps, the President of the Board of Trade. And number 3, A.V. Alexander, the First Lord of Admiralty. They started a discussion with all leaders of different parties and different societies, and they decided to make unity. They decided to make it sure that there should be national unity in regard to the process of shifting of power to the Indians. That's why they formulated some plans, some ideas. Number 1, they formulated some ideas, and the cabinet mission proposed a two-tier federal plan, which was expected to maintain national unity and while conceding the largest measure of regional autonomy. That's why they formulated some plan. Number 1, federal union. There should be a federal union of the British provinces and princely states. Federal union of British provinces and princely states. That means both, and there should be one union government. There should be one union government. That very union government should deal with the following subjects. Number 1, foreign affairs, defense, communication. These 3 most important departments they decided to deal with. The union government should have the power to raise finances in regards of the financial requirement. That's why they formulated some other points. Number 1, number 2, powers of the union. The union would have its own executive and legislature composed of members of elected members of the legislative, composed of elected members of all provinces. And number 3, provincial autonomy. What is provincial autonomy? That means the provinces would enjoy full autonomy, but for all subjects other than the union subjects. That means the union government would deal with the following 3 departments, as I taught you earlier. What is this? Communication, defense, and foreign affairs. So the grouping of provinces, 4 point, the grouping of provinces. The British provinces would be divided into groups. Each group could determine the following subjects to be taken in common. Number 1, Group A. This would include 6 Hindu majority states like Madras, Bombay, Central Provinces, United Provinces, Bihar and Orissa. These all should be a part of provinces, because these all were Hindu majority provinces. And Group B, they categorize some other provinces. These were Muslim provinces in Group B, like Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province, and Sindh. Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province and Sindh. They categorized it in Group B. And in Group C it includes Bengal, Assam, and of the chief commissioners provinces like Delhi, Ajmer, and Marwar and Coorg. They decided whether they would join Group A or Group B. That means they recognize them, they considered them to be a part of Group A, Ajmer, Delhi, Mewar and Coorg, and Balochistan for Group B. And next one, a province could opt out any of the group. A province could opt out of any group and join another group by majority vote. The vote would be held the vote would be held through the elected members of the Legislative Assembly, and at last they came to a conclusion that should be a formation of a Constituent Assembly. That how it should be formed. Generally the Constituent Assembly was having 389 members, but out of 389 members, 296 members would be elected from the British provinces, and 93 members would be elected from the princely states. So, and next one, the members of the Constituent Assembly would be elected by the provincial legislative assembly. In order to avoid delay in the making of transfer of power, and in order to delay the process of drafting the Constitution of India, or before the power was shifted to the Indians. But according to some Indian leaders, there was a plan for the British to establish their influence over the Indian people. Although they proposed the transfer of power to the Indians, yet they had an option to interfere Indian politics in a similar way, by way of taking same advantage. Whenever they proved the Indians to be incompetent, they once again would come to power and demanded that you had no right to rule that country because you all were incompetent enough. So leave the country for us and let us rule the country. We would like to rule the country. Otherwise, the entire parts of India would become part of noisy people. Those who because in this country there are so many group of people, so many languages, so many religious cultures, so many religious concepts, so many communities, so many races. So unifying them and bringing them under one umbrella was not very easy task, my dear friends, my dear Indians. So let us try to bring them back under one umbrella so that we could rule them by adopting good policies for them, by giving up the former wrong policies. And that's why some Congress leaders, they realized that it was a golden opportunity for them to avoid the presence of British. And the British would only give some suggestions regarding the process of transfer of power, but they had no right to be a part of the administration, to be a part of the Indian government, the government which was going to be formed, and the government which was going to be started, the government of India which was going to be formed with the Congress leaders, with the Indians. There should not be presence of the British members. There should not be presence of the any British member or any British person, or any group of British people. There should be only the group of Indians who would rule the country by means of their own efforts, by means of their own skills, own talents. And they were quite confident enough that they would be able to rule such a country because they all were highly qualified and had ability to rule the country. That's why The British should not rack their brain over the matters of the Indians. Simply, they would start the process of shifting of power. They would allow the Indians as to how they would make a constitution, but there should not be any British province. There should not be any part of the princely states with the British province. That's why they realized it and they ignored some ideas of the British in the name of representing minorities, representation of minorities. The Britishers decided to interfere in Indian politics in the same way by taking advantage, by showing the drawbacks, the shortcomings of the Indians. They wanted to be a part of the Indian administration after having shifted power to the Indians. That's why they strongly protested against the system, against the act of execution, and hence the Congress leaders initially remained silent they all, and later on they tried to make it understand with persuasive arguments that there should not be any presence of British. There should be only the presence of the Indian people who would form the government. But later on, the British remained silent, and the proposal of formation of Constituent Assembly, where there were 389 members. Out of 389 members, they proposed 296 members to be elected from the British provinces. Raised the Indian people, the Indian Congress leaders raised hue and cry, objection. Then why should be the British provinces? Why? There should be no British provinces. Then why are you counting the number of members that 296 members should be there to be elected from the British provinces? It is absolutely wrong. 93 members from the princely elected from the British prince, from the princely state, that could be considered. But 296 members to be elected from the British provinces, it is absolutely wrong and funny and ridiculous. That's why there should be no presence of British people, British members. And ultimately, by way of convincing the British, at last, the cabinet mission which planned to shift power to the Indians, they remained silent, and after a long discussions with other Congress leaders, they came to a conclusion, found out certain ideas, and rejected the formation of Constituent Assembly. Earlier, the cabinet mission, which was made a plan for the Indian people regarding the process of the transfer of power. Later on, they made certain plan, Constituent Assembly made certain plan, Cabinet Mission plans made certain plan. Later on, it also framed certain clauses, and at the same time, formation of a Constituent Assembly. That point, they rejected, Indian people rejected. But earlier, the clauses, whatever clauses the British already framed, that same clauses the Indian Congress leader accepted, because they proposed that the Hindu majority provinces like Bombay, Madras, and Odisha, Bihar, these should be the Hindu majority provinces, should be categorized in Group A. Well, we are ready to accept, the Indian leader said. And afterwards, in Group B, they proposed that only the Muslim provinces like Sindh, like Northwest Frontier Province, like Punjab, and that should be the part of Group B. Well, we are ready to accept. The Congress leader accepted it. And next one, Group C, Bengal, and some parts of the Delhi, Cork, that should be a part of either Group B or Group A or Group B. And some of them would be included in Group A from Delhi, Ajmer and Cork, and some of them would be a part of Group B, like Balochistan. It was decided, well, we are ready to accept it. But what is the problem? The British asked, what's your problem? The problem is, they said to them, the problem is, my dear British men, you must withdraw the system of the formation of Constituent Assembly, because you have demanded 296 members to be elected from the British provinces and 96 members to be elected from the princely states. It's all right. 93 members to be elected from the princely states. We are agree. We are ready to agree, accept it. 93 members to be elected from the princely states. But 296 members, how can you say? Because you are once again, you would like to interfere in Indian politics. You would like to find out the faults of the Congress leader, of the rulers of India. It should not be there. That's why they rejected, and the British decided, the British remained silent, and they were thinking as to how they would solve the problem and make the Indian people agree regarding the proposal of formation of Constituent Assembly. Up to this, my dear students, next day some few points of the lesson I shall continue teaching, and you get yourself prepared for a live class. After a few minutes later, I shall send one message, and you have to meet me in the live class. If you have any confusion regarding the lesson, I shall mention. You may ask me question. I shall ask you question, and so that the point of difference regarding the lesson I shall mention may be found out. Thank you, my dear students.